Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
For every resource, they have a different identifier and the identifier have type. We also have subtypes like data types. We have whenever we get a JSON script, there we are using like use system and value. I don't understand where we get this from. Yes, no problem. Let's take an example real quick of patient resource. Here is the patient resource. Now you are seeing an identifier. You did not get how we are getting the value of use, system and value. This is the types of data types. These are data types. These are the fields of identifier. If you take an example in the we have values, you will get the same value, system value. We are getting that values from here. Are we taking the values from here? No. This identifier is basically, let's take an example. I will show you. Let's see if we are taking system and value these two columns. The system will be basically the namespace for the identifier value. Which system that identifier value belongs to. Let's say your name is Ram and Charan's name is Charan. If we talk about the use, there can be different use for your name. Like your name, Ram can be the usual one. And in official, your name will be like something else. For now, you're talking about Ram. The use will be official. Sorry, usual value will be Ram. The system where this name belongs to. Know this name. Let's say this name in human name, you are called Ram. The system will be the human name. Let's say in machine language, you are called something else. Let's say machine language, you are called Prashant. The system will be machine language here. If let's say we are talking about the system, human name, then the value will be, as we know, that in human name you are called. You have been called Ram. We will first define the system and then we will be defining the value. Similarly, let me show you an example real quick. These are the identifiers for a person, from which we can identify the person. Getting my point? The use is usual. And if you talk about the system is URNO ID. This is a coded value and the value is L2345. For this value, we are using this system basically. Let's say if we are talking about this thing, this is also system and code. The system and code. If we see about this system, the code is MR. Let me show you by visiting this link. It will be good. This is the official URL of code system. And in this viewer, we are finding which code, MR code, I guess. The code R. Let's find MR code. That is a medical record number. If we again go back to the patient resource, they said that the use is usual. And in type, we have the system URL from where we can find the system. The cause MR. That means medical record number. The value is 345. Now we can understand by this that this value is belonging to the medical record number of a patient. Getting my point? I think the thing is we are convinced with the when we are converting, we do message to FHIR. We need to write the whole thing. A code snippet. And it will be a database in the system. I did not get any experience. Can you share me and show me what exactly you're asking about? Of course, if we have the data message, it is consisting of 3 segments. When we are passing the statement from cell 7B to FHIR, here we need to write the whole script or else. No, every time we do not have to write the whole script. Let's say if you're working with organization. Every organization who has their own set of fields already defined, which they will be using. Every time. You do not have to write the script again and again. You have to write the script once, but that is fine. That will be the thing that you have to write the script once, either in Python or either. Let's say if you are to using any tool such as MIATI Connect or something in that you have to create a channel which will be taking out all the fields from cell 7B to message. These things are defined already. There will be this MIAT Connect. Is it a tool? MedPar Connect is a tool that is creating channels and all. And that channel, let's say you are using MART Connect. You created sender and receiver channel. Let me try one of the other. This is your MART Connect here and you have 2 channels here. That is, one is the sender channel and one is the receiver channel. This sender channel address, let's say the port number is 5000. Maybe you saw the port number. We are aware of the port number. Let's say this is the 5000 port number. And in this channel we have the port number as 4000. This is sender. Let me write it as well. Sender and this is receiver. Sender and receiver. Now let's say there is a hospital. This is a hospital. And also there is a laboratory. First thing will be the hospital. Let's say you are a patient. You are a patient. You visited the hospital. This will be the first part. You visited the hospital. In hospital, the doctor treated you and said you will be requiring some lab reports. I saw the hospital triggered an HL7 V2 message for the order message basically to this receiver channel. Now the hospital is triggering a message. The hospital will be sender. and the system will be a receiver message. Getting my point? The hospital triggered an order message for doing the lab reports for this patient. It's generally like a medium. Yes, it's a medium. HLV2 message came into our mouth. This is our mouth. Now here's some script we will be writing which should be converting H7V2 to FHIR. In that tool only we will write. In that tool only we will write. Yes, in that tool only we will write. There's the code we can write. And also we do not want to write the code. We can use JavaScript as well. There are many things in the tools. The tools is vast enough. The hospital triggered a V2 message for the order message for dealing with the patient's blood reports. He sent the MAT Connect already specified a receiver port that is 4000 which has been shared with hospital. Hospital sent all the messages on 4000. Now the laboratory. The laboratory has been advanced and now they are using FHIR. They are not using H7V2. They are using now FHIR. This MIRT what it will do when the message comes in. It will transform the message from H7V2 to FHIR. And with the sender's channel, it will send this message to a laboratory. Requesting for that. Basically, it will be notifying that a patient will be coming with this MR number and you need to do all the reports. Be prepared for that. The laboratory will do all the reports and all the things will be ready. When the patient comes into the laboratory, he will get all the reports. He will do all the reports and then once the reports are being done, this laboratory will send the message HL7V2 message again to this port number, that is 4000 port number. Because this is the receiver channel of MIRT. Only this port will be responsible for receiving the message. This laboratory will send HL7V2 response to this 4000 port number. Then again, now when the FHIR message will come into the MIMART, it will transform the FHIR message to V2 message again. Conversion will happen because hospitals still accept V2. Once the V2 message is converted with the help of this 5000 port, it will send back again all the details to the hospital. Getting my point? This is just an example. This is the most shortest example I'm showing you with the lecture. I'm showing you with only 2 channels. There are like usually not only 2 channels. There can be multiple channels, like there are some few more channels. That the laboratory FHIR message will be sent not on this receiver port, but on this receiver port. Getting my point? There can be multiple channels MANIART can handle on which we will be dealing with multiple data things. Now let's say there is one laboratory, this one, there is another laboratory. We do not have to create multiple channels for each and every laboratory if they are all triggering a FHIR message and we have specified a port. All the FHIR messages from all laboratories can be like triggered on this port. Let's say this port is 6000. All the FHIR message can be triggered on this 6000 port. Getting my point? Any confusion or doubt in this, guys? Again, coming back to your point, do you have to write the script, the whole script? Yes, one time you have to write the script. But once you have written the script, once all your data elements are fixed, then you do not need to modify this script until and unless new resources are popped in, or let's say new fields are popped in. Getting my point? Any confusion or doubt in any of the previous session, guys? All things are clear. If we receive the patient information, the vehicle message, we select this patient resource from FHIR. Your voice is echoing a bit. I'm not able to clearly understand. Is it broken? Quite good. When we receive the patient information like patient identifiers or patient demographics in the vehicle message, when we are converting from vehicle to FHIR, then we will open this patient resource. Writing this JSON script. Yes. For instance, for only a few times, you will open it. Once you are used to it, you will like the patient resource by just remembering only. Great. Then let's start with our second last session, that is the FHIR server. Now, as we discussed about, let me tell you what all things we have discussed now. In session 1, we were introduced to FHIR. We were introduced to interoperability. Any questions on that interoperability? You remember what is interoperability? And any questions or doubts in that session? We should not understood or something. In session 2, we dealt with types of HL7. That is, we learned about HSN V2, V3. We learned about HAR. We learned about CDS, CCDA. And we also saw the booming chart. In session 3, we were introduced to Python libraries. Basically, in short, we were introduced to Python. In session 4, we were getting started with Python. In session 5, we learned about the data types, that is, strings, integers, boolean, float. And we did some operations on data types. In session 6, we learned about the looping, that is, for loop and while loop. I'll give you as an assignment. We also learned about the static dynamic variable and F string, R string. In session 7, we discussed about data structures. That is list, tuple, set, dictionaries. In session 8, we went through the HTTP overview. In session 9, we discussed about HL7 V2 in detail. In session 10, we discussed about different versions of HL7 V2 from 4.1 to 2.9. And also the HL7 V2 message structure. In message structure, we discussed about segments, fields, components, subcomponents, the repeating character. And we also shared your Python script to work with HL7 V2 message that will convert V2 message to HR. And in session 10 and session 11, then we went to the FHIR documentation walkthrough. And in 12, we discussed about FHIR patient resource and its in-depth implementation. Like we learned about the flags, we learned about the cardinality, the data type, how we can convert the data type. In this session, any confusion or doubt? Ramcharan, anything? Once, can you explain the flags? What thing? Fuck. Let's go to the patient resource. Every resource will have these three things. That is the flag's cardinality, type and description also. Flags, if you see a flag with N, that means it is a normative. It is a normative resource. If you see there are different standard levels. If, let's say, a resource is still being in development, that will be in a draft mode. That means D flag will be available. If that resource development is completed, and let's say it is being given to public for trial use, a trial use will be of the trial use flag will be marked. Now, this is the normative one. That is the most stable version now. And informative means that only that resource is for information purpose. For example, contents, registries, examples. That means these are all for information purpose and having a form informative. And then the last flag will be deprecated. That means that resource will no longer be used. That is deprecated. In place of that, a new resource may be formed, or let's say that deprecated resource may be merged in a new resource. Get my point? This is the flag, and now this is a summation symbol. That means the element is included in summaries. If I show you a summary response real quick, you're able to see my pie chart. You can see the postman. Oh, sorry, my bad. In this, if you can see the text, this text, and you see the status is generated. Each and every resource having the summation symbol will be generated as a summary here. In this text section, this section is totally dependent on us if you want it or if you do not want it. But by default, it is included only. This is the use of summation, and this is the modifiable element, flag element. Is it visible only on Postman, or else are there some connect platform? Your voice. Sorry, I am not able to clear. Use. Is it visible only on Postman or the mid connection platform? You will get the JSON response on Mirth Connect. That response, you will be treating it then. Basically, it's like writing a script format only in, let's say you're writing a Python script. In that, from one end you are getting HL7 v2 message, and from one end you are sending a FHIR message, converting the H7 v2 to FHIR. It's like that only. Just the thing is, we have developed that tool that we do not have to write the whole script. We do not have to expose the endpoints and all that. All things can be handled by the tool itself. For learning purpose, we are using this editor. For learning purpose, we will use this tool for Mirth Connect. For learning purpose, it is good that we use the editor because at the end we are doing the script writing in Mirth also. We should be aware, how we are writing the script and all. Coming back to the flags, this is the modifiable element flag. That means if this flag is included for this field cannot be changed. It can be modified only. Let's say if you included active status field. And now you are saying that I want to delete it. That is not possible. You cannot delete active status, but only you can modify it. Now let's start with the summation, along with the question mark and exclamatory. You're saying we cannot make changes and we can add. No, no, no if you want. No, no, do not worry about the summation. These are two flags. If you can see, these are total two flags. If you see this flag, that is question mark and exclamatory. That means it is a modifiable element. If you see the summation, that means it is A. That means it will be included in the summary. You see both of them together. That means it will be included in the summary as well. And it is only a modifier element only. Both can be applicable. Both will be applicable. One more thing before we start. How confident are you getting now? Like, are you understanding what is FHIR? What is H7? What are messages? How we will deal with H7 v2 messages? Like if someone gave you a H7 v2 message, will you be able to transform that message? Feeling confident enough now? Better, we need to learn that task. Definitely. That extra effort will totally be required. That won't happen in a week time, or let's say 1 week or half week. At least some few days, like if you are almost giving 2 hours a day, at least 10-15 days will be required for scripting. But I'm sure you will be able to do that. You both are quick learners. Let me share my screen quickly. Let me know if my screen is visible to you guys. In this session, we will be majorly discussing on what is a FHIR server. What is a FHIR server and what is the implementation and how we are using the FHIR server basically. Before we start, do you have any idea what can be a FHIR server? Basically, it is a channel. Sorry, it is a channel. No, it is a channel. Is it like a database? Exactly. Like SQL Server. Yes, we can see that. We can store the like after converting to FHIR. We can store the data. Yes, exactly. It's like whenever we send a request and the response is saved there and also we receive the response. Exactly correct. Up to the point. Exactly. We store the data in the SQL database using the post and columns. We will save the data in the format of the chase and yes, FHIR. Yes, exactly. You both are correct. That was up to the point. That is correct. Let's move on to the agenda. We will be discussing the FHIR server in depth, how we can set up a FHIR server, or let's say how we can use a FHIR server. We will be practicing the help of an EMR. Both are fine. Today's agenda will be what is a FHIR server, which you guys are already aware of, and what will be the key features of FHIR servers. We will be also looking at the deployment options. What is deployment? We will be looking at first and then we will be looking at the deployment options. We will be interacting with FHIR servers. We will be using Sana for that and we will be also looking at the popular FHIR server implementations. And at the end, we will be looking at security and performance considerations while using a FHIR server. What is a FHIR server? As per the definition, a server that implements HL7 FHIR standard for healthcare data exchange, act as a RESTful API to access and store FHIR resources. As you said, Ram and Sharon, you both were correct. It will be used for storing our actual 7 FHIR data. Whenever a request will be made to the server in the form of API request, it will give us the response back again to the target machine, whoever requested it. The role in interoperability of FHIR Server. FHIR Server enables seamless communication between different healthcare systems. It also supports CRD operations on FHIR resources. Let's say if a hospital has implemented a FHIR server and another hospital wants to get data from the server. What they can do is basically just hit a REST API with all the proper information. And they will get the data from the server. That's it. No need of converting the data, no need of doing any operations on data. This is how seamless communication acts between two different systems. With the help of just a single RESTful API, they are able to fetch the patient data. Let's say any resource data. And FHIR Server also supports CRD operation because it is built on top of RESTful API only. RESTful API, we are aware. The create, read and update, delete operations. It supports CRD operations on FHIR resources. Let's say if someone wants to read some FHIR resource from a server, what he will do? He will use the read API and get the data, but that's it. Getting my point? Any confusion or doubt in this, guys, why we are using RESTful API in FHIR Server? What is the use of RESTful API? Anything. We will be developing an API and we will make the API calls to Postman. Yes, API calls from Postman, or let's say from our script only. The Postman tool we were using for testing our APIs. But now let's say in our actual implementation, we will not be using Postman. What we will be doing? We will be using script only for that. I can show you that real quick. Remind me after the session. I will show you how we can get the data from an API from script. We will not be using Postman. We will be writing a script for that. Or maybe I can show you a way. 1 second. Let me share my PyCharm. You able to see my PyCharm? Yes, we should. You will. Let's use that application which we used earlier. Let me run this quickly. Now our development server started. This is my port. Let me create the users quickly. For example, in real time we will be working through Postman, or you use another application. No, we will be using now script only in real time. Postman is a testing tool. I'm saying about PyCharm. No, PyCharm is our interpreter. In that only we will be writing the code. You remember the script the other day which we used to create users, read user, delete and update user. Now With the help of Create API, I created a user. If you can see, if I get it also, I'm able to get the value. Now we will not use the get operation from Postman. What we will do? We will use the get operation from our script only. Yes. Let me start the server in terminal that it does not kill it. It is on FHIR demo. What is this? Sample recipe. Now I activated this. Now my development server has started. Now this data will not be here. Let's create a user real quick with the key. And one more user we will create with the key. One more user we will create with the key. Let's get all of this. Key should be the same. The name can change it. The test user. Let's try to get it. User is created here. Now in other terminal, let's keep it active. Now getting my point. Can you see here the values? What I did now is we have already a server running. On this port, that is this 5000 port, we have already a server running up. Now what we did, we created a user with the help of Postman. We created a user with the help of Postman, but now we did not utilize Postman to do like, make a GET request to that API. What we did, we made a GET request with the help of our script only. And this script, we are just storing the data in the response variable, and that we are printing the response variable. You can see all the data is printed here. Getting a point. Pearson. This is basically we will be also doing. We will not be using Postman. We will be like directly getting all the data, or let's say making all the requests from script only. This is just an example of get. We can also make a post request. We can create the user with the help of script only, not using Postman by giving all the properties for me. Getting a point. Great. Then let me again go back to the FHIR server thing. You able to see my screen? I think this one you'll not be able to do. Now you will see this one. You will see this expanded screen. This one, what is the FHIR server? Can only see slide or the server FHIR server. What is the FHIR server slide you're able to see? Now you get it. What is the FHIR server and why we are using REST API on top of it? You interact with FHIR server basically. Now moving on to the key features of FHIR server. The first key feature is the RESTful architecture. FHIR server is designed in the on top of RESTful API as following the RESTful architecture. Let's say you're aware of SQL database. In SQL database, to enter some data, we write some queries to read some data. We write some select queries. To delete the data, we write delete queries. And to update the data, we write update queries. Similarly, in a FHIR server, let's say if we want to delete some data, we will be using the delete API. Let's say we want to create some data, we will be using the create API. We want to get some data, we will be using the get API. And let's say we want to update some data, we will be using the update API. Similar to CIUD, create, read, update, delete. All this will be done in the form of APIs. In SQL, we write some script. We write some SQL script, basically select star from 100 or let's say insert into that data table. But here we are using REST APIs to communicate with the FHIR server. Getting my point? And the second key feature is the data format. The data format will be in the form of JSON or XML. We already know that the REST API sends us the data in the form of JSON and XML. Now the third one will be the standardized resources. These FHIR servers will be able to handle all the resources all alone. There will be no need for us to define that. Let's say if you're dealing with patient resource. FHIR server is already smart enough to, let's say, handle all the patient data which we will be throwing at it, which we will be sending at it. There will be no more modifications or let's say more insights will be needed. We just need to send the data. That's it. All the other parts will be handled by the FHIR server itself. The storing, the retrieval. What we need to do, we just need to carry the resources. Now FHIR server also provides us the capability to search for using the search parameters. How we are using the search parameter? You remember I showed you a get operation where we were searching with the help of name. Let me show you that again real quick. Here, let's say if I want to search someone from the FHIR server to that person, I'm not sure what the ID is. Or let's say I'm not even sure what the name is. I just know the date of birth. I can find that person on the basis of that as well. FHIR Server provides us the capability for searching with the help of search parameters and versioning. Basically, FHIR Server, it already tracks the resources, update with version control. Let's say if a patient resource, let's say RAM's resource is in patient resource. RAM's data is in patient resource. Now I updated RAM's birth date, or let's say I updated some data in RAM's data. Basically RAM's JSON data. All the version controls will automatically be handled by this FHIR server. We do not need to specify anything. Getting my point, guys? Yes, clear enough. Now coming on to the deployment option. Do you know, guys, what is the deployment in the first place? For example, is it like storing? No, it is like hosting. Now let's say if you're dealing with FHIR server, every server needs a deployment hosting basically. Let's say for now we use this local server in PyCharm. We dealt with this local server. This is our server address. This is localhost. Now this local host is being hosted on my machine. Similarly, if we are dealing with FHIR server, there will be a server address for that as well, and that should be accessible by everyone. Getting my point? We need to put it on a place where everyone can get the server address and can access it properly. Similarly, let's say if you are using Instagram, there is a different server for Instagram. We say whenever Instagram is down, we are not able to get anything or post anything. We say that server is down. Why we say that? Because the data, the Instagram's data, which is hosted on a cloud platform, that is not responding. Similarly, if you are dealing with FHIR data, there will be a FHIR server hosted which will be storing all the information and will be accessible for people. Getting my point? What is the server basically? And to that server, we will be like sending our request and getting the response against our request. Any confusion, guys, in this? What is the server? How do we deploy basically? Clear enough. The deployment. Now deployment is also of three types. First is the on-premises. Let's say your organization. Your organization is dealing with very much confidential data, which they cannot trust with anyone. What we will do? What they will do basically? They will set up an on-premises server, and that server will be only accessible within the organization. No other people outside of the organization can access that server. Getting my point? That is an on-premises server. The examples are FHIR Server is an on-premises server. We can deploy it on-prem, and the use cases of this on-premises deployment option is that organizations with strict data control can use this on-prem. But there is always a disadvantage of some on-prem. If you want something, there is always a disadvantage coming with that. Not only for on-prem, for let's say hybrid and cloud-based as well. If we are dealing with on-prem server, the infrastructure cost will have to be bared by the organization. The maintenance cost will also have to be bared by the organization. Infrastructure maintenance, the technical team. All the cost will have to be bared with the organization only. Getting my point? But there is a benefit also that our data will be with us only. No other people can access our data. If that is much confidential data, there is no subscription for this server. For on-prem, no, the subscription is not required. But you know what infrastructure cost for setting up the place cost? Everything will be your own. But let's say if you are dealing with a cloud-based, for example, AWS or let's say Azure, provide a server which we can store our data on. They bear all the infrastructure cost, the maintenance cost, everything they bear it. But we need to purchase the subscription. Getting my point? And then there comes the hybrid one. Hybrid will be a combination. Let's say your organization has some data which is very much confidential and has some data which can be stored to other providers, other cloud-based deployment options. What they will do, what your organization will do, they will set up a small server that will be only capable of handling the data which is sensitive. Not each and every data and the rest. They will store the rest data which is not useful, not that sensitive. They can store it on other deployment options such as AWS or Azure. Getting my point? Do you get it? What deployment options is? What server is? Any confusion out in that, guys? Now let's move on to how we will interact with FHIR server. Basically, we can interact with the FHIR server with the help of RESTful APIs. If you can see my Postman collections, if you can see, this is the API. And this API is pointing out to the ClinicalWorks FHIR server. Getting my point? Similarly, let's see if I talk about Advanced MD. This is my Advanced MD FHIR RESTful API and this is pointing out to the Advanced MD FHIR server. Getting my point? Is it making sense now? Is it clear enough? To interact with FHIR server, basically we use RESTful API. In RESTful API, we are aware that there are multiple operations. To get the data, we will use get operation. To post the data, we will use post operation. To update the data, we will use put operation. Patch operation. To delete it, we will use delete operation. Getting my point? And as we also discussed, the search example, the search parameter FHIR server gives us the capability to search something on the server with the help of search parameters. For example, let's say we want to search with the help of name. We will use question mark and then name is equal to John. Getting my point? Clear enough? Now coming on to the batch operations. Batch operation is nothing but submitting multiple requests in a single transaction. Let's say there is a patient Prashant. Now, he went to a hospital. When the doctor is treating him, he is treating him for the first time. Let's say He wants to know each and every detail of the patient Prashant. What he will do, he will not go to the single resources. He will carry all the data one by one. What he will do, he will do the batch operation. He will request for a bundle resource in which he will get all the data for that patient Prashant. For example, allergen data, medication data. Now his patient information, his encounters, previous observation, each and everything he will get in a single response. Getting my point? Clear enough, guys? Great. Now there are some popular FHIR servers we use. They are a FHIR Server. This is open source FHIR Server, and there is a Microsoft also providing a FHIR Server, that is Microsoft Azure API. And then Google is also providing, that is Google Healthcare API, and then we have FHIR Server. That is an enterprise level FHIR server which is acting on it. Which one is an open source? Which one? Like FHIR Server is open source as well and paid as well. Why I mentioned open source server? Because other servers do not provide a sandbox environment, but FHIR Server provides developers a sandbox environment. Like they can develop their application with the help of that sandbox environment without purchasing any subscription or something. And then when they basically want to go with the production data, they can purchase the FHIR Server subscription. But until and unless they are not ready, they can work with this open source and the FHIR Server of theirs. It will save them the cost. If you're purchasing Microsoft Azure API for FHIR, when you will be able to use the FHIR Server when you will purchase the subscription. Let's say you purchase a subscription and then you started development. Development took around 6 months. For 6 months, you are just paying to Azure like uselessly. If you had a sandbox environment, you could have tested the APIs. If you are able to do the development, it would be great. It would have saved you almost 6 months of cost. But it's not the case with FHIR. FHIR provides a sandbox environment. It provides developers a sandbox environment that you do all your development, whatever you want to do with the sandbox environment. And when you are ready for the winter production, you purchase a subscription and go for it. Getting my point? That is great. Now coming to the security considerations. Every time if you are using a FHIR server, there's always a security aspect included because the data is very sensitive and very, we can say, protected data. We need to ensure that if you are dealing with this sensitive data, the security should be also in place. The first thing is the transport security when we are transporting the data, that is from one point to another point. We will be using the HTTPS protocol for transporting the data. Let's say from FHIR server to you that data is transported. From you to FHIR server, that data is again transported. We will use an HTTPS server, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. If you can see in my API section, you can see I am using the protocol HTTPS. But if we see in this pie chart, you see this is HTTP. Why HTTPS and why HTTP? TP is because we are not considering the factor of security here. Because this is just localhost, this URL will not be accessed by your system. This is only for me now. I do not want any security in this, but let's say we are dealing with actual data. At that point, HTTPS comes into existence. This is a hypertext transfer protocol secure, which will implement security for us. Getting the point? Now there comes the authentication protocol. Authentication protocol. We are aware of that REST API, that this FHIR API is act on the basis of OAuth 2.2 security protocol. That is the authentication protocol. Now here comes the data encryption part. Data encryption. You know what data encryption is? No, I'm not able to. Is it like masking? Mask. I'm not sure about the masking, but encryption. Let's say if you are dealing with the username and password. We won't be storing the username and password directly into the database. Because if let's say our database is at risk, our username and password, all of them will be at risk. In that scenario, what we will be doing, we will be encrypting the data. Using some algorithm, we will be encrypting the data and then storing the data. Let me show you a quick example. If you see this bulk token, let's see an example of bulk token. I can only see your slides. You can only see your slides. One sec. You at that point. I think you did not saw the HTTPS. This is the HTTPS when we are dealing with actual server. Now let's see bulk token. This is the token. This is in the encrypted format, like my client ID, my each and everything. Let me show you. Let's see if we decrypt this token by decrypting what you will see. If you see I pasted my token here. Not copied properly. If you see, this was my access token. That was encrypted with all of this data. This all was the payload data which it was carrying, the expiration time, the vendor, ID, the ISS, that is the audience basically, which server I'm accessing, the scope. Thus my client ID. Who am I, the audience, basically getting my point. All of these details were constituted in the form of encrypted token. This one getting my point. When I decrypted this token, this JBOT token, I got all of this information that my client ID is this. My token expiration will be at this point. I'm requesting for all of these scopes within this token. For now, in this, the response, you will be able to see most of the things. But the client ID, you will not be able to see, that is encrypted. And when we decrypt it, basically, when we decrypt it, we saw that client ID is also included. That means with the help of client ID, we can identify who was requesting the thing. For an example, let's say you might have heard that someone post on Instagram that some threatening or some illegal thing he posted on Instagram. And the police was able to track that person successfully. Getting my point? Let's say someone posted some illegal thing or illegal activity on Instagram and you saw the news that police was able to track that person successfully. How it was possible? Basically, with the help of all the encrypted tokens. Whenever he was posting, or let's say whenever he was accessing his account, a token was triggered with all of his information, that is client ID, his IP address, his network provider details. All of this information was triggered within this token. Now, when the police identified that this is the person, what did they ask for? Tokens from this Instagram. Instagram provided them the tokens, and when they decrypted the token, they saw that this person is available at this location, and then they caught him. Each and every data is secure in that. No other person can access it. Just the thing is, we need to decrypt the data properly. Getting my point? That is the data encryption part of VVC and FHIR servers. Now there's one more thing, that is the access control. In access control, we basically define the rule-based access to resources. For example, let's say I am Prashant and I'm the administrator. I might be having a different set of access. And let's say Ram and Charan are the users and they do not have the privileges which I am having. Let's say if we are trying to delete any resources from the server, will you be able to delete it? Because you do not have the access for that. That is the role-based access provided to each and every resource. No point. And the last point is the audit logging. For example, let's say there is a server failure, or let's say there is some error occurred in the server or some event triggered. We will be logging that somewhere. And in production server, we will not be having the access to the console. Like we did in the PyCharm. We see that in PyCharm, these are all the requests made to the server, that we saw this, we printed this and that. But in production, we won't be able to have access to the console. What we will do? We will place the logging mechanism which will log the traces for us. If something fails, we can go to the logs and see what things are failing there then. Getting my point? Great. Now this was the short FHIR server demo. Let's move on to the FHIR server, actual FHIR server. We will be using Cerner for that. Cerner provides a sandbox FHIR server. We will be utilizing that sandbox FHIR server. We can also use that one. This one? Yes, definitely. You can create a new account. Is it like an open source? Yes, it is open source. Let's create a new account from scratch. My account is not present there. I will be creating an account in front of you guys also. If I don't have a create, I will click on create an account. I will add the email addresses and all. You can also try this thing, guys. Let's do one thing. Use this account only. Guys, you able to see my this thing? This is the Sun's code console in which we will be able to create some applications. With the help of this application, if you see provider facing backend application, if I open this application, I can see application ID, client ID. I can see the smart version, that is V1, and the API which I want to use for the resources. Let's say if I want to patient resource, I only want to read access. Practitioner also I want read access. This application has defined some set of rules for me. Get my point? I have. If you can see the FHIR version, then I'm using the FHIR R4. Application type is provider. Application type is system. Let's say if there is a single provider requesting my resource. He will be using the application type provider. Let's say if a hospital is accessing my resource, they will be using the application type as system. Getting my point? I can see. Not the one. This is it. If you see the SANE, this provides FHIR R4 APIs. And this Oracle Health Millennium is their product. If you can see all of the resources here, let's get a list of patients. These are all the REST APIs. If we see, we can try it out with the help of this API itself. Let's try to copy this. Let's quickly go to the Postman. Are you able to see my Postman screen? Yes, there's the test correction. Let's use this one. If I send a GET request, it should return me with the data. Except header is invalid. Because except header is invalid. If I see the except header, except application slash. Can you see now? We just FHIRs, like FHIRs are one of CYRANE, that this is the sandbox access, basically. If you can see this, give me all the list of all of the patients. Similarly, there are get a patient by ID. There are different resources. You can try it out. Getting my point? Maybe I will share this link with you. You can try it out on your end. Explore this FHIR server basically. Check if you are able to open that link. Now you might be wondering, I showed you some applications earlier. What is the use of that applications? You see this in this patient ID itself, get a patient by ID. If you read all of this, you see the header parameters are required. That is authorization, and we are requiring a string type. If you're dealing with an actual CYRANE FHIR API in production, we will be requiring an authorization parameter. This is sandbox for sandbox. We do not need that authorization parameter. This is accessible by all. But when we are dealing with prod, we will need an authorization and authorization. How we will be able to do the authorization? By telling the FHIR server that this is me. I'm a provider facing backend application, and this is my application ID and client ID. This is my application ID and client ID with the help of this ID. And I'm having this all privileges within my application. Please provide me the required details. Getting my point? But for now we are using sandbox environment. That is fine. The authorization is not really needed. We can try it out all of the API from here itself. Are you able to open this URL? Yes. Maybe try it out with different API. I think you will not be able to create a patient, but try it out at your end. Any confusion or doubt in this? What is a FHIR server? How we are using the FHIR server? What are all the security protocols we will be using dealing with the FHIR server? And first of all, you get it to what is a FHIR server, what it is capable of, why we are using FHIR server to store all of the FHIR resources data. Getting my point? And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.